All right, hey everyone. So we're here. There were some questions came in through a few different channels: Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
something else.
DMs on Instagram.
Direct messages. Okay, so we got some questions to answer. So the voice in the background is Alex, who's been helping us with some of this stuff recently. So so the first one is Matt CMs is from Matt. Hey Tom and Nick, great event as always last Saturday. Matt, I like the way that's starting. I haven't heard in the podcast how many properties you each had before Tom leaving Oracle and Nick, you leaving your job with the city. I'm working on my third now with Lisa, loving the process. Thanks, guys. Okay, first things first, awesome. So thanks for the feedback and awesome what you're doing. Matt, I couldn't actually tell you. I don't really know exactly. That's a long time ago. That I got the hairline to prove that was a long time ago. There was a few for sure. I think what's most important was that when we left, there was a plan for what we were doing next. So when I left my job with the city, I still had a plan for what I was doing with short-term income to continue to invest in long-term assets. So it was less about the number of properties and more about the cash flow they were kind of spitting off. And then even when I left the city, it wasn't to be a full-time investor. It was to take the properties and the cash flow the properties were spitting off. At that time, I want to say 3, 4, 5, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But the cash flow that those were spitting off, I was still living at home when I left the city job, and that was enough to support me. So I was able to use that cash, even if it was one property spinning off enough cash to give me some flexibility in my life. I was able to use that to give myself opportunities or new opportunities to try without taking as much risk on, because I had these things that were producing income for me. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it was more about what position it put me in, the flexibility it gave me, than the actual number of properties. So I often tell people, I'm like, look, you can have one property spitting off a huge amount of cash, or you can have 10 properties spitting off no cash. So it's less about the number of properties. But regardless of that and the cash that they were spitting off, we still had a plan for short-term income, what we were going to do to generate income to buy food that day, and how that was going to translate into giving us enough income to invest in long-term assets as well. So that was always the stuff that we were looking at when we went from one job to another, which was definitely more of a risky industry. And eventually when we left the 9-to-5 world altogether and started Rockstar, we still had that plan in place. So I hope that sheds some light on that stuff. Next time ask me a question of something in the last week, I'll have a better memory of exactly the details. Next question is from Rob Kunicki. I'm probably butchering that name. Sorry, Rob, I apologize. Any tips for someone looking to get into real estate coaching? And is it necessary to obtain a real estate license to become a successful coach? So absolutely not necessary to have a real estate license to be a successful coach. We only got our licenses because we were investors and we wanted it for our own investing. That was it. It was never with the ambition to start working with other investors or coaching other investors. That was really never the plan. That just kind of materialized over time. To me, to be a successful coach there's a couple things. And this I think applies to everything, not just real estate, is first, you can't be in it for the money. You got to be in it for people's best interests, and that comes through. And I know that sounds like maybe a stereotypical or airy-fairy answer. It's not. People see that. They see through the facade that some people put on. That only will take you so far. You need to actually give a damn about people and their results, and you need to be there with them through thick and thin, good, bad, or ugly, because it's not going to be a smooth ride. It's never going to be a smooth ride, and you need to be willing to stand there and stand behind them when shit hits the fan, and you're going to handle it with them. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is you got to differentiate yourself. Step outside the box. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Figure out what it is that you're really good at and just focus on that. Maybe out of 1,000 investors, there's only going to be 10 people that need that little bit that you're really good at, but that's all that you only need those 10. You don't need the 1,000. So don't be all things to all people. Figure out what's true to you as a coach and help people with that specifically. Third question, Fern Gauthier. Any tips, strategies for finding off-market properties without relying on an agent for pocket listings? When we did this, Fern, the best approach for us was we were advertising for them. We had our own advertising. We used signs. We ran around and put signs around Mississauga. I'm not sure where you're coming from. You're from, but suburb on the west side of Toronto, fairly big suburb now. But we were putting these signs on streets, on the sides of streets, saying like, "I buy houses," or different offers with a phone number to call. At that time, it was more phone number, less website. There's all sorts of different other places you can advertise, but it's really just advertising to get people that are interested in selling their property for whatever reason beforehand. You can look at government publications. The Ontario Gazette is a place that you can find people. Things that go for sale for by the auction or unpaid taxes, and then once they're advertised there, you can try to approach the owners of those properties before they get to that point, before they go to auction, and try to come to an agreement with them. That's another tip you can try there. So there's different things, but it's how do you advertise to have people come to you, like in any business. That's really the best way to go about it. All right, the next one is from Brad. Hello, my name is Brad. So what is it exactly that your company does? That's a good one. I've been investing in real estate for some time in the Erin area, from landlord to building and buying land. My wife's an agent in town. Just wanted to learn more. Thanks, Brad. Brad, I mean, you know what? We really work with residential real estate investors, anything from helping the super beginner person getting their feet wet and holding their hand through the whole process, to helping an advanced investor get into a new area that they haven't explored yet. So whatever it is, whether if you're in the Erin area, sounds like you're having great success, that's awesome. Maybe you're looking to invest in a completely different area of the province or use a completely different strategy. You've been landlording, you've been building, buying land. Maybe you haven't done rental home properties. Maybe you haven't done student properties. Maybe you've been landlording single family stuff and you haven't done bigger buildings, and we can help you get into that stuff. So we really, anything that's residential real estate investing is really where we focus. Anywhere from coaching people, training people. We have about 15 different classes in our office for investors. We do events for 700 investors come out to those, active investors, so they can network, get to know each other, create some partnerships and things like that come out of it. So it's really just like a large infrastructure for investors to all learn, grow together. The rising tide, we're strong believers that a rising tide raises all ships, and that's really what kind of the Rockstar Inner Circles become. And then our team's here to support people and help them walk through the process and be there for them through good, bad, or ugly. Andrew, this question is from Andrew. I'm working towards quitting a great job to be a barber, but don't really know where to start. I'd love to learn more. Andrew, this question is near and dear to our heart because outside of real estate, building a business has been really, really valuable to us. We're strong believers in entrepreneurship and creating some flexibility for yourself, so it's awesome. And we know the battles that come along with it. I'll use the opportunity for a cheap plug first to our Entrepreneur Summit that we're doing this year, June 7th and 8th, for anyone that's interested in that stuff. But outside of that, I had to take the opportunity. Outside of that, the most important thing that few people think about initially is most people want to go and they start a business and they get some sort of office and they open the doors to the office and they expect people to just come in. And that's it. That's the business, and that's how they're going to generate business. Whereas that is severely limiting when you're starting a business. The most important thing that you want to do is understand the process of how you're going to attract a customer. So how are people going to notice you, reach out to you, and keep coming back to you? There's a lot of opportunities in a barbershop because people are consistently there. Hair keeps growing if it doesn't fall out like some people's. And I'm pointing at myself while I say that, just in case anyone else is offended. So you have the opportunity for people to keep coming back, so you can do things to try to make sure that they're there, they have good experiences. You can increase the value of each time they visit with certain strategies. But if you're not on their radar, then they will not just show up for the sake of showing up. Right? So to truly grow a business, you have to understand how you can turn on the tap and off the tap of attracting customers. And you want to understand that journey and that process with them. So it's a much longer conversation than we have time to answer today, but that would be the first thing that we would look at for any new market we're getting into, is we would map out the customer journey and realize where we fit into that and what our process is going to be to attract a customer. Because it's not just open the doors and these people are going to come. You got to do more than that for them, right? So that's it, everyone. Thanks, guys, for sending these in. We'll do it again. And as always, until next time, your life, your terms.